Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Iyun to lean on Hilchos Kriya Shema Siman Ayin Tet number 79. We're talking today about everyone's favorite topic. What do you do when you're in the proximity of poop? Human poop. That's basically what the halacha is. If it's human poop, either from your child, or not your child, or an adult who has problems, um, holding it in. So, what do you let? What do you do? You're not allowed to say Kriya Shema. Like, why said you can't say Kriya Shema? It comes out there's basically three different variations of the halacha. Um, if the poop is there, it's present, meaning there actually is poop there, and it smells bad. So you have to you have to see wherever the smell stops and then go another 6 feet because it's vayamachanecha kadosh. Your machane, your tachana in Israel, tachana is a bus stop. Your station, wherever you're stationing, has to be holy. It has to be holy. We learn by Kriya Shema. You have to pay attention to what you're saying. If you're smelling this awful smell, you're not going to pay so much attention. So you have to not only, or you can't smell it anymore, you have to be in your own machana. The reason being, because even if you can't technically smell it, if you're close enough, you'll feel discomfort. You'll feel discomforted in your situation, and you're not going to be able to pay attention to what you're saying. That's one halacha. Then there's another halacha um, about seeing soa. That even if it's if it's in front of you, if you can see it from very far away, according to the Rashba, it would depend if someone has 20/20 vision. If you're not wearing your glasses, you have to judge it if you're wearing your glasses. You can't see it. You can't see it. The same idea being that if you see it, it's very uncomfortable to see it and pay attention to the Kriya Shema. But there's a third halacha. The third halacha is about soa reach she'ein lo ikar. The Gemara calls it reach she'ein lo ikar. Someone passes gas, they fart. There's no soa. The soa is in the person's intestines. He passes gas, right? So that's not as bad. The Gemara says even people who are sleeping or learning Torah next to other people who are sleeping, where does that happen? If you go to yeshivas, the Mir yeshiva, you got any yeshiva at lunchtime, people take a rest. They need to take a rest in the afternoon. Siesta here in Israel, there's nowhere to sleep, especially in Avra. You don't have a room to sleep in. There are some places, like I remember when I was in the Mir, they rent out rooms for sleeping after lunch before Seder, second Seder in the afternoon. You have to pay a certain amount. You can sleep there. You got a bed for a month. Other people, not so fortunate, they sleep on the benches or on their stenders in the base medrash. So they're sleeping. When you sleep, you have more a proclivity to pass gas, to fart. And there's people sitting right next to you who are learning, because some people learn during Ben Astar. So, the Gemara is aware of that, and the Gemara says you can learn Divrei Torah. Divrei Torah is allowed. Kriya Shema is not allowed. Kriya Shema is not allowed because it's the same idea. Kriya Shema, you have to pay attention to what you're saying. However, there's an interesting halacha that if you're the one who farted, right? This doesn't have to be during Ben Astarim. You're the one who farted. You cannot even learn Torah. You can't even learn Torah. This is, up until now, all these halachas, even though the Gemara clearly says Kriya Shema, the Mishnah Berurah and the Poskim say it doesn't just mean Kriya Shema. It means brachos, it's Divrei Torah, tefillah, everything's included. To that, I say I don't agree with that. Kriya Shema, it should be kal vachomer. If you're going to say tefillah, which is derabbanan, so then of course tefillah and Kriya Shema. No, it says the most chomer Kriya Shema. The things that are less chomer, it's okay. It's okay to daven in front of erva. It's okay to say brachos in front of erva. To say brachos in front of so. However, when it comes to smelling over here and smelling your own smell, you can't even do Divrei Torah. Now, on the surface, you get asked the question. People are familiar with this, when people fart, other people's fart smells bad to them, but their own fart doesn't smell bad to them. People enjoy their own smell. I mean, that's just the way it is. God created it that way, so you don't even feel discomfort. So why should you be? First of all, you can't even say Kriya Shema, that's for sure. And why can't you learn Divrei Torah, which is less chomer? All these halachas only apply to Kriya Shema. You can't learn Divrei Torah. Kol Shekin can say Kriya Shema. I would say for sure you can say Kriya Shema. You feel great. The idea is, the answer is that up until now we're discussing different types of things, looking at nakedness, saying Kriya Shema, touching other people's erva and things like that, where you feel comfortable. you can't pay attention to what you're doing. You're distracted. However, in a general sense, you know what's going on. And like I said, you're always supposed to be osik b'divrei Torah during the whole day. It doesn't mean you're supposed to be thinking about Torah. It means your mind has to be available to make decisions. Um, you're aware enough. You're not dozing off, so you're able to make decisions. Um, However, when you're enjoying yourself, um, Hashem doesn't want you to make a decision when you're enjoying yourself, even though that's part of life. And yeah, that's what your Achilles heel is, right? The Achilles heel is decision making, because everyone wants to run. We want to keep up with everybody else. We want to run through life, run to success in business, run to success in school. But your Achilles heel is the thing that connects your foot with your leg, and enables you to run. The Achilles heel of people is that you have to make decisions. Decision making takes time and effort, and it causes you to go slower in life. Eventually, if you're successful in decision making, you know you'll won't have a problem with your Achilles heel anymore, and you'll be able to run. But until you reach that point where you're successful as a professional decision maker, you're still gonna have a problem. You're gonna have the Achilles heel problem, injury. So you're gonna have to walk. You can't run. You have to make decisions. So the Torah always wants you to be osir with your Torah, so you're capable of making decisions. However, Hashem does recognize that when you're enjoying yourself, you're in the middle of a meal, let's say you're eating. I don't think in the middle of a meal you're supposed to be osir with your Torah. You're not, right? You see the opposite now. People go, when you're in yeshiva, I remember this, some people would come to a meal, especially on Shabbos, they'd come, it's a long meal, 45-minute, hour meal, and they take a sefer and they're learning from their sefer while they're eating. I used to do this also. When I was in my young 20s, I didn't think it was too much taiva to eat lunch at 2 o'clock, right? I ate a breakfast at 9 o'clock. To eat lunch at 2 o'clock, no, I had to learn until the maximum of 3 o'clock. I put my lunch aside. I came down, no one else was there. I took out a sefer Shmiras Halashon, Chafetz Chaim, and I was learning from it while I was eating. I didn't waste a minute. You don't want to waste a minute, not a second. You got to be learning all the time. Right? The idea is, no. When you're enjoying yourself, when you're at a meal, you shouldn't be learning Torah. You shouldn't be osir with the Torah. Hashem wants you to be a normal person. If you can't have times in life where you're going to enjoy yourself, then you can't live. You can't go on. You need chiyus. You need life. Even though Hashem wants you to osir with Torah all the time, right? When you go to a meal, you take off your tefillin. You're not osir in cheshbon and nefesh. You don't learn Torah. It's exactly the opposite now. People are learning Torah all the time. People come to the Shabbos table, my Shabbos table, and they take out a sefer. They're learning the whole time. It's very sad. Not supposed to be learning then. So you're supposed to be enjoying yourself, the food, the company, the conversation. All these things fall by the wayside. When you're together with your wife, you shouldn't be thinking about Divrei Torah. I mean, I feel like it's crazy that I have to even mention this, but no, when you're enjoying yourself, you're supposed to be enjoying yourself, focusing on the enjoyment, not focusing on cheshbon nefesh or osik with Divrei Torah. And the same thing applies over here when you fart and you're enjoying your own smell. So the Torah can't expect you to do Divrei Torah. You can't expect you to learn Divrei Torah. Somebody else farts, doesn't smell so good, so Kriya Shema, you shouldn't say you can't pay attention, but you can learn Divrei Torah because, right, you're not enjoying it. It's not enjoyable at all. However, you could still pay attention. But when you're enjoying yourself, you shouldn't be paying it. You shouldn't be doing a cheshbon nefesh. You shouldn't be thinking about Divrei Torah. You should be enjoying yourself. There's a time, as Shlomo Melech says, there's a time for, I don't remember, but a time for simcha and a time for sadness. And in times of simcha and enjoyment, you should be enjoying yourself. And don't put yourself in a state of avelus while you're with simcha. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you tomorrow.